how to apply the one-step mentality to language learning. Depends on your level. You're going to do different things at different levels. From A1 to A2, you're going to want to focus on something more traditional. If you do immersion alone, it's going to be pretty difficult even to just hear the sounds, for example, of the language. And reading can be difficult too. So you're better off starting with having a more general understanding of the language and taking a grammar book or an exercise book or anything and picking up the sentences. Instead of doing the exercises, you're going to pick up the sentences and either put them in Anki or another SRS tool, and you can also just write them down. That's what I do right now because I'm constantly moving around, changing computers, things like that. So I needed a better way, more secure way to have everything on hand. And now I write things down. So that's gonna be for A1 to A2. Once you're at B1, by the way, don't forget to still do some immersion. You don't need to do a lot, but do some immersion just to get acquainted to the sounds and to start reading, because if you don't read, you will never be good at reading. Reading is a muscle and you have to train it. B1 to, let's say, B2, you're going to do the same thing overall. Now you should double down on immersion. You should do way more immersion than anything else. If you're still insecure or you want to progress faster with grammar, not just vocabulary, you can still do some light reading of grammar books, but don't overdo it and stop at B2. Once you have a B2, stop doing that completely because it's gonna hinder your acquisition process. You should instead, anything you can do, for example, Anki, reviews, etc., you're gonna start to stave it off. And instead, you're gonna replace it with more immersion. If you were doing like 30 minutes of Anki card reviews, which is a lot, you should now do 10 or 20 minutes max, or 0, and just have 30 minutes of immersion on top of your normal time of immersion. And the ideal time of immersion to really make fast progress is at least 3 hours. You can do 2, but 3 hours is the best. And you don't need to do them all at once. And you can separate the kind of immersion you do. You can maybe read when you have time on your hands and listen to audio and podcasts or music even when you're in the commute, in something where you can't really read, but you are like free to do something else. So that's when I would be listening to something. But the ideal type of immersion is when you have both reading and listening at the same time. It looks like, for example, for someone A1 to A2, for me it was the case for English, for example. I started with just listening to music. When I had the time, I would read the lyrics and listen to the music at the same time. Look up the lyrics, of course, to understand them. And later on, I would still listen to that same music over and over because I just like the music. So it would be a natural review. I started playing video games after that. So a lot of video games in English. It's built in. You have audio with reading in video games. After that, I started watching TV shows and animes in English, subtitled, and reading mangas in English. Manga are easy because they have images, so more context, and context really help cement something in your head, in your memory, long term, way faster than something that does not have that context. That's how I would do it. Just consume more content, and if you want to talk well, if you want to speak eloquently, what you can do is join a group chat like the one we have with Sam. Sam has made a school account and he's like giving us tasks to do every week, and we share what we think of the material together, and we can listen to each other's opinion, and there's no judgment attached, so you're really free to come and say whatever you want about all the subjects. And what's fun is that you get to hear different opinions that are really maybe far from yours in a respectful environment, and you can express yourself as well, and people are happy to take the time to understand you and let you speak. But there's no pressure. That's the key here, no pressure. And this really helped me get better at speaking in general, and especially in public. I would do that typically starting maybe B1, because that's where you will have more vocabulary to use, etc. You know better some of the key basic grammar rules as well. So that's what would I do to learn to speak, right? But I would put it second, because that's not how you acquire a language. In fact, if you stick to just consuming content, you will naturally start to speak. It doesn't happen for everybody. I don't know why, but for most people it does. For me, it did. And slowly but surely, you're going to be able to convey any message you want to convey without really thinking in your own language. It's just going to be you thinking about what you want to say, right? In thoughts, in the language of thoughts, and it's just gonna come out. That's when you know that you're fluent. That's it for today. See you next time.